power to inspire, heal, and transform, reminding us that every challenge is a chapter and every success is a triumph worth sharing. Hi there, welcome to The Spark, a podcast dedicated to bringing you stories of transformation, real stories of some silent heroes. This podcast is about resilience, hard work, willpower, and determination. It is about the desire to succeed. We are here to share our challenges, failures, and victories with the hope of inspiring each and every one of you. My name is Mabel Shu, and I am your host. My guest for today is Benjamin Abugri. Benjamin is a knowledge management, digitalization, and learning cluster lead specialist at the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, FARA. With over a decade of experience in strengthening knowledge systems, Benjamin has led the development and institutionalization of key knowledge management initiatives, including the Knowledge Management for Agricultural Development Agenda, a continental initiative that builds capacities, fosters digital transformation, and nurtures communities of practice for agricultural research and development across Africa. He is also a passionate advocate for decolonial knowledge partnerships and indigenous knowledge integration. In recognition of his outstanding impact and leadership in the field of knowledge management, he was honored as the International KM Award winner for 2024 by the Knowledge for Development Partnership Austria and the Global Knowledge for Development Community. Hi, Benjamin. You are very welcome to my podcast.
Hello, Mabel. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, great. So, Benjamin, you know the objective of the podcast is basically just sharing your stories, maybe to inspire one or two people out there who are probably having challenges with their career. So before we begin the conversation, I would just like you to share with us what your childhood dreams were. You know, when we were kids, there was always this question that they asked us, what do you want to become when you grow up? So can you just tell us, take us back to your childhood days?
Okay, thank you again, Mabel. It's great to be in this platform, which I find very educative. I've listened to some of your podcasts, if not all, and I think I've learned a lot also from it. Yes, so back to your question. I think growing up, and for those of us who are from the village, I'm from a village called Meliga in the Upper East region of Ghana. Generally, I did not really think so much. I did not have that big dream on how I was going to become.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was always that confident child that in most occasions you find me shining in doing things among my peers. So I just grew up like that, and I'm sure that is what at some point I was able to maybe figure out what was best for me.
Okay, so are you saying that when you were younger, you really didn't have interest in any specific thing? You know, some kids, they would have said, I want to become a pilot, I want to become a doctor, sometimes even without knowing what these careers entail. So as a kid, was there any of these things that you were interested in or that you paid attention to?
Yes, so at some point, I had my uncle was a chartered accountant.
Okay.
And so I had started developing interest in accounting,
Okay.
but I really didn't know a lot about it.
So
But
around what age was that when you had started developing that love for accounting?
I think at my junior high school.
Okay.
Because he was already an accountant, so I saw him.
Okay.
And then we also used to see the rural bank manager dressed nicely in a tie. So it was nice to think about how one could become somebody like that.
Okay.
And so that was the early days.
So basically, you just wanted to dress nice and wear a tie.
Exactly.
All right.
But as I was growing, especially at the junior high school level, those days when you are good in class, the likelihood that the teachers will say go and pursue science is high. So I wanted to go and do science.
Okay.
Even though I initially thought about accountants, but at that point I wanted to do science. I applied, and then I wasn't given the science because I didn't meet the cutoff grade for science.
Okay.
I went to Tamale Secondary School.
Okay.
And at the time, the cutoff for science was aggregate 12, and I had aggregate 13. And so my name appeared in the business class.
Oh, so they moved you
They
from
moved me, yes, from science
to business.
Yes, to the business class.
Looks like the school thought that you would have been a better candidate for business.
Maybe, and that is how nature works.
Right.
Unfortunately, when I got into the business class, for the whole of the first term, I didn't know what they were talking about. Because coming from the village, I was hearing new words like debit, credit. I didn't know what. So I was so confused in my first term that I started lobbying to move from the business class.
Yeah.
Maybe to the science class, I wouldn't have gotten because the cutoff was very strict. But I wanted to go to the agri class.
When you said move from the business class, I actually thought about flights.
Yes. Yeah, so I wanted to go to the agri class, which they were doing something similar to science.
Okay.
But the cutoff was not as competitive even as the business class at the time. So, but then I didn't get any motivation. I didn't have anybody to counsel me until one teacher came for national teaching practice from the University of Cape Coast. And then he started teaching us the accounting. And then he started from a level that those of us from the rural area can now associate ourselves with. And then so from the second term, I started picking up.
Right.
And that is how I just went ahead to do business at the secondary school.
Okay.
And I ended up doing well.
Okay.
Yes.
So I also noticed that for your masters, now you moved on to project management. So coming from a background where you were not very sure of what you wanted to do, to moving to business because of the cutoff points that you couldn't meet, to showing interest in the agric course, and then finally doing the business again, and then going to do a master's in strategic and project management. What influenced your transition from business to project management?
Okay, thank you very much. So I think growing up, where I was just discovering my key competency areas. I think because those days we didn't have counseling that would help us to shape how our intellect was, because I was a very good student.
How did you know you were a good student?
Because I was doing well. I was doing well in class.
Okay.
I was doing well in sports.
Okay.
I was almost doing a lot of the things that you find students that who are enthusiastic about being out there doing. Even though I was quiet, but I was in many things.
Okay.
So after the secondary school, when I studied business, I went ahead to do bachelor's of education in accounting and business management.
Okay.
So at that point, I was contemplating becoming a teacher.
Wait, but sorry. So you're saying that at the secondary school level already you were doing the business course?
Yes, I did the business course at the secondary school level.
Okay.
And then I used that to go to the University of Cape Coast to study. Those days, the course was called Bachelor of Education in Social Sciences.
Okay.
But I majored in accounting, business management, and then I did some level of computing.
Okay.
Then I think I wanted to teach, but I loved research at the time, because when I was in school, I was already even helping master students to analyze their data because I was inquisitive in learning the applications for like SPSS for analyzing data and all those things. So I developed interest in research, and I felt that education was a sector would have given me that opportunity. So when we were planning for our national service, what Ghana, I mean the mandatory national 1 year national service after the tertiary institution, I had gone to lobby at the Bolga Polytechnic, the business department, to come there as a research assistant.
So when you say lobby,
Yes,
what exactly do you mean? You went there and requested for
Yes.
them to recruit you as
a research assistant as part of my national service.
okay.
And so because I knew that that would give me that opportunity to be in the research area.
Okay.
And then at the point of national service posting, one of my cousins had gone to do internship. He was 1 year behind me. He had gone to do internship in the Anglican Relief Services, an NGO, and they were looking for somebody to do national service. So he recommended me.
Okay.
And then they contacted me. I went there. They said they were interested in me, and I knew NGO research. So it felt like, well, this is even going to be more practical than even going to the academia. And that is how come, even though I had gotten a letter from the Polytechnic to go to the National Service Secretariat for changes, so that I come to the Polytechnic to be a research assistant, I ended up joining the Anglican Relief Services for my national service.
Okay.
And I want to pay respect to the director at the time, the executive director at the time, late Bishop Dr. Ayebo. He went and then did the changes for me, and then I joined the Anglican Relief Services in Bolgatanga. And that is how I just switched from the education sector now into the NGO. And then when I went to the Anglican Relief Services, I worked under a very dynamic lady called Madam Juliet. She gave me all the opportunity to learn, to explore. She coached me. So I had so much passion at the time working with her. And then I realized that, no, maybe this is where I need to be.
So
And
the interest in the nice dressing and the suits and the tie
it just vanished. And then I now started riding motorbikes in the field. And that's how I just remained in the NGO sector up to this point. And so when I joined the NGO, after working with the Anglican Relief Services for the national service, after that they gave me about 6 months contract to stay. And then at that point, one of our family friends is like an uncle, one Alaji Isaka, was operating. He had filling stations, like he was a subsidiary of Total Ghana Limited, and so he had filling stations and tankers that they were looking for somebody to manage. And then they recommended that I could do it. So I said, okay, I want to come, but I just want to spend some few months to work with you. And fortunately, I went there to work for him for just 5 months. Then I got a job to join World Vision International. So at that point, when I joined World Vision International in 2009, 2010, I realized that once I'm in projects, and I was a project officer for child sponsorship, where I was managing close to 3,000 children in sponsorship in the Garu Timpani district, I just realized that project management was necessary for me. But I didn't want to do just core project management because I also envisaged leadership opportunities in the future. So I decided to do project management, strategic and project management. And then that is how I switched. And that has really benefited me a lot in the sector that I've worked.
Interesting. Yeah. There's been a lot of transitions in your career. I think you've done, in the entire life of my podcast, I think you have been one of the persons who have done the most transitions. And usually I know transitions come with their challenges. It's not as smooth as it might seem.
Yes.
So what were some of the challenges you encountered having to move from one sector, let me call them sector, to another? You moved from business management to project management. And then you even have a postgraduate diploma in monitoring and evaluation.
Yes.
That's another story that I would probably come to later on.
Mhm.
But can you just share with us some of the challenges you encountered during your different transitions?
So I want to say that there are challenges
Okay.
because I'm the type that takes on responsibilities,
Mm.
sometimes even without realizing that I've taken on responsibilities. And
Okay.
I was also the type that whenever they ask for volunteerism, I will be among the first people to volunteer.
Mm. Mm.
So we are in workshops or there's somebody to act on a position or anything that has to do with responsibility, you find me offering myself.
Mm.
So I could easily, I was able to easily move from one area to another. But beyond that, maybe because of that enthusiasm, I also happen to be working with very good people. Let me put it that way.
Right.
I had
Right.
people that believed in me,
Yeah. Very
and
important.
yes, believed in me. I can mention my first manager for World Vision, Godfred Yelewere. He's from the Upper West region. He believed in me, and then so we worked very closely. We're the first people to open the office. After him, I came as a program officer.
Okay.
So I try to just focus on the things that should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also the type that wants to obey rules. I want to live by the ethics of whatever I'm doing.
Mm.
So in most cases, the challenges would not come up very clear.
Mm. More like
But then,
stepping stones.
exactly, but then definitely there will be somebody might be watching and saying that this guy is suffering. I'm like, look how they are using him. He's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing that. But
You didn't
I
consider it
didn't
like you were
consider it
being
like that.
used.
I didn't consider it like that. I was just doing my things. And I was also the type that had that passion for mentoring people, like nurturing people.
Okay. Okay.
So at any point in time in my office,
Mm-hmm.
especially in World Vision, you would find students around me. Either they are students from on holidays who just come around and I give them some work to do, or I have national service people that work with me,
Mm.
and I created that relationship that made it very easy for them to learn a lot of things and work with me in a way that sometimes it's my name that is popping up as the one who has maybe chalked a success, but then there are a lot of people around me that I work with. Yeah, so that is how I will look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that at the time you didn't have any, you actually called them counselors, but I think it's also related to mentorship. And given the experience you've had mentoring other students, do you think that if you had a mentor along your journey, maybe in your university or high school days, do you think that things would have been, I don't want to use the word better, but different? Do you think things would have been different, negatively, positively, whichever way, but
Yeah,
different?
I think so. I think so. So I had mentors in a way. Let me say, I had people that once in a while you meet them and then they give you one or two ideas, but it was not that structured way of having somebody helping you to understand
Yeah,
yourself,
yeah.
helping you to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and guide you to make certain choices.
Mm-hmm, mm.
So in most cases, because you are intelligent, you are doing so well, you find people giving you advice, on the spot advice, and all those things.
Okay.
So it's in a way, if I had that kind of a very structured guidance,
Yeah.
I'm sure what I'm doing today
Mm-hmm.
is what I would have been doing, but I
Yes.
wouldn't have come from the background I came from,
Okay. 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 You would probably have
because
started
my
in this
level of
field.
curiosity, I've just realized, I've later on I got to know that maybe computer science would have been an area that
Oh.
would have been
Okay.
my best area,
Okay. Okay.
because after going all this round and coming to now be a knowledge management person, I've just realized that some of these things have played some key role, but they could have been, if they were structured,
Mm-hmm.
it
Would
would
have
have
been
been better
different.
than, because as I sit now, I still feel I have some gaps in certain knowledge.
Mm.
Maybe I should have learned them, but now I don't have the time to learn them again.
Right.
Yes.
And now that you mentioned that,
Mm.
do you have any regrets based on everything you have been through, do you have any specific regrets? Things that you wish you could have done differently?
I
You wish you could have done computer science when you were
Yes, I
younger.
think that when I was, yeah, that's very true. I think if I had good counseling,
Yeah.
I would have done either computer science
Mhm.
or I would have done something that has to do with creativity.
Did you like numbers?
Yes, I
Okay.
was actually I was a type that my weaknesses are not very much clear in terms of the subject areas, but I love numbers.
Mm.
Accounting,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean
because
all those things,
yeah.
and
And now
maths. I
you're
was
talking
doing,
computer
yes,
science. So
exactly. I was doing well in maths,
okay.
so I could have done computer science at the
Right.
time.
You probably would have been one of the people the Ghana cybersecurity would have been looking for because you're hacking people's accounts somewhere.
That's interesting. Yeah, so that would have been something that I would have done because at as I went around and fortunately I landed on knowledge management.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I realized that this is my passion area.
Your passion keeps changing by the day.
Yes,
You were
but
passionate about accounting at a young age.
exactly,
Now you've become passionate about knowledge management, but you still have some passion for computer science.
exactly. But the good thing is that the knowledge management comes with some level of computer. So I've learned a few things by myself,
Okay.
but I am unable to go deep
Mm-hmm.
with them because the stage at which I'm
Yeah.
learning them, I don't have the time
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to
You have
learn them deep.
yeah, your hands are full with work
Exactly.
and all that. Okay.
But that is the beauty of how God created us.
Yeah. I
It
think
gives us the opportunity to allow the younger ones for you to help them
yeah, to be able
to
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 do
be
the
able to do
things
the
that you
things
could
that
not do at
exactly
that age.
exactly.
And in all of this, you keep saying you've gone round and round, and I really agree you've gone round and round. Was there a moment where you questioned any of the decisions you made? Was there a moment where you were just doubtful of any of the decisions you made,
No,
especially with regards to the transitioning?
I think I at the early stage
Okay,
because it's funny. I love to teach at the time.
interesting. So,
So
what don't you
so
love doing?
so yeah, that's interesting. I love to teach,
Mm-hmm.
and then so when I completed the bachelor's at the University of Cape Coast, I did not choose Central Region. I chose Upper East Region. Second choice, Upper East Region. Third choice, Northern Region. I was already fed up with Cape Coast. Cost of living was very high,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wanted to leave. Meanwhile, when my posting came, I was posted to Wesley Girls High School in Cape Coast, one of the best senior high schools.
Mm-hmm. The Cape Coast you were running away from.
Yes. So I was wondering, how did my name appear? But then later I got to know that sometimes the schools in Cape Coast, one of the reasons why they do so well is that they connect with the university to fill gaps in their schools
Okay.
with teachers.
Okay.
So they can work with the department for them to get some students that can be posted to work with them, and then maybe they train them as teachers. So I got confused. I said, oh, this is a very good school, a very prominent high school. Let me go there. But then I said no, I didn't want to go there. Then because I wanted to go to the north, back to the north to connect with Bolga Polytechnic, which was a new polytechnic, and I felt that there was more room to grow there.
Okay.
So it was at that time that I had this confusion as to whether I should stay with the high school, whether I should go to the polytechnic or this NGO that came. But within that point, it was very easy for me to go to the NGO because those days they were the only people that were riding motorbikes, nice motorbikes in the
So you
in the
went into the
area.
space because of the motorbikes.
Not necessarily, but I was now my last choice was between the polytechnic and the NGO, and because I was thinking research, I found the two of them to provide me what I needed. But beyond that, the NGO was going to put me in the field. So I would be very close to the communities and those things, and I will also be giving motorbike to move to the community. So
You mentioned the motorbike
exactly.
again.
So that was another plus. So at that point, but after that, because I've stayed on the NGO sector consistently, I didn't find much confusion, and so at some point I was qualified to become a manager at the World Vision. Myself and one of my colleagues. I mean, we applied. There were some vacancies for manager positions. we applied, and then the feedback that came from the HR was that we were too young to be managers at the time.
Interesting.
Yes, it was very funny. I mean, it looked frustrating because we were so confident with ourselves that we thought that we could be managers.
But when you say you were too young, what age, if that's not an issue, what age was that you were qualified as? Was it qualified? Disqualified for being too young?
I was still maybe 26, 27, 28.
You were young.
Yes, around then. But then we had done a lot that we felt that
You were
myself,
qualified
Francis. I'm
to
sure
be
if
leaders.
Francis listens to this podcast, he's
just
now
probably be
a
smiling
director. He's now
somewhere.
the program director for CRS Ghana.
Oh, nice.
So you can imagine. So as we were peeved, we were not happy, and we felt that we believed that we had the competency to become managers. So, and I think that they also knew that we're good.
Yeah.
But generally, I think they had the more wisdom that we needed to grow a little more.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity for knowledge management came up, we were, myself and Francis, our area development programs were the farthest from Accra. Mine was the farthest from Garu, Timpani area development program to Accra was the farthest. But we're also the loudest in terms of managing the children, reporting, ensuring that the work was done well.
So loudest here, you
Yes.
meant in terms of your work. When you said loudest, I thought you meant literally loudest.
No, I mean like in terms of the
yes,
work.
in terms
Yes,
of the work.
yes.
Okay.
So then the World Vision Global had requested World Vision Ghana to start a knowledge management portfolio. And so when they started a knowledge management portfolio, they were looking for somebody. They advertised and they couldn't get anybody from the public. So they said they were going to do internal recruitment. So now they looked at the job description and they tried to see which of the project officers were doing something that looked like knowledge management. And because I was writing stories and then we're also managing databases and all that, they decided to shortlist 5 of us to compete for the knowledge management positions.
Okay.
And it was called Knowledge Management and New Initiatives Coordinator at World Vision Ghana. Then, funny enough, the same Francis and I emerged as the best, the top 2. The final 2. So we're interviewed as the last 2. But we're friends, so we really were always looking for opportunity for each other. So we didn't care who gets the opportunity.
Okay.
But finally, they settled on me. And then that is how I just moved into knowledge management. And I just realized that, this was where I was supposed to be.
But it looks like every time you move into something new, you realize that that's where you were supposed to be, because that's the same thing you said with project management, the same thing you said probably with the business management. So it's like you're just testing the waters, and maybe it's also based on the fact that you said wherever you get into something new, you put in all your energy.
Yes. So I think you are right. But the knowledge management seems to encompass almost all the sectors. So you are seated at a place that you have the opportunity to work with every sector in the organization. So with my knowledge in project management, I was able to connect easily with the project managers. With my knowledge in database management, I was able to work with the database people in terms of the knowledge management systems that we had. With my knowledge in developing stories, documenting stories, good practices, lessons, I was able to do that work from that angle. And then with that background in M&E that that you mentioned, also helped me to connect with the M&E. So it actually was more like a preparatory process. So all this while, and that's why those of us who believe in God, we believe that nothing is done in a vacuum.
Yeah, everything happens
all
for
these
a
things
reason.
I was going around were preparing me for this particular role that I finally got into.
I think that you were also patient enough not to think that the going around was more like you not finding your feet on the ground. You know, sometimes when we leave school and we get out, we maybe apply for jobs and don't get, then we start doing some form of volunteering. Then you realize that you end up doing volunteering for a very long time. It gets frustrating, and many of us are not really willing to try something new because we are stuck with, this is what I did in school, so I need to follow this path. So it's really nice to just hear your story of you just trying out like anything you came across.
Yeah.
You tried out, and for some reason you excelled in all of them. And I'm just listening to the things you said, and many of the things I kept hearing were management, accounting and business management. You moved from there to project management. You left project management, now you're doing
Knowledge
care
management.
knowledge management. And you had talked about database management, and I'm just asking myself so many questions.
Yeah.
I think the management position that you were looking for should have already appeared somehow by now, because there's a lot of management roles that you have done in the past years.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I think that, like I said, I mean, a lot of the things, sometimes when we do them with faith, everything will fall in place at some point.
Right.
Especially for those of us who are from countries, societies that do not really have very well structured processes and opportunities to help us know how build our career right from the start. If you have faith and you work hard, you commit to the things you do, things will just fall in place in a very interesting way. So as I sit today, I still think that any role you give me, I can
You would
easily
still
I can
be a
easily
good
play.
manager at
Exactly.
it.
Even though I now know that I am a specialist in knowledge management,
Right.
and I'm very comfortable in that field.
Nice. At the end of the day, I think that's what matters most. That you've been able to find the field in which you are very comfortable and you're enjoying it. And so, Benjamin, out of all the things you have done, out of all the things you have been through, what's the one thing you find most fulfilling in life now? What's the one thing that you find most fulfilling? You have gone round. You have
Yes.
gone round and round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mabel. So this is a very tricky question. I think at the moment I'm very comfortable in knowledge management.
Okay.
I think I have developed my capacity, my understanding about it. In most cases, looks different from a lot of people that do knowledge management, because somebody will be doing communication and then they add knowledge management, then he say, oh, I'm a knowledge management person. Somebody is M&E, they add something, then they add knowledge management, then he says, I'm a knowledge management person. Somebody is a journalist, then they add. But I have been fortunate to come from the project management background and business, and I see knowledge management totally different, especially also having a background in education.
Okay.
It helps me to understand all these concept of knowledge and things. So I think now I feel knowledge management has given me some level of fulfillment in terms of, even though I still believe that there's more work to do, but I think it has given me that opportunity to explore a lot of new areas. Also because I was fortunate to be one of the pioneers of knowledge management. I've always been the first knowledge management person in the organizations that I have worked with. So I have to develop the system myself.
Right.
I mean, working with the system.
Okay.
So it has helped me to understand it from different perspectives, from typical NGO like World Vision, institutions like the USAID, connecting it now to research institutions. It's in a way continue to shape how I think and how I feel about the profession.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. During your life, sometimes we are faced with a lot of challenges. When you get to that point where you get stuck and you really don't know how to move forward, or sometimes you have to move backward, is there somebody you look up to? Is there somebody that you just admire, that inspires you and keeps you going? Some people have role models, some people have mentors, but you mentioned you really didn't have a mentor. So do you have somebody that you look up to when things get difficult, or is there something that you do when things get difficult?
So I have a lot of adult friends and relatives.
Okay.
I mean, I happen to have friends and relatives who look very grown than me. I have uncles that have succeeded in many ways, and sometimes they don't need to talk for me to learn from them. I just have to observe them to learn from them. On my mother's side, for instance, one of the people that have inspired me is one of my uncles, Dr. Mbila. He's a reverend, a Presbyterian Reverend Dr. Mbila. He has been one of those inspirations for many of us from that part of the world. Beyond that, Professor Aaron at the University of Ghana Business School is one of those that has inspired me. Sometimes such people, they don't need to talk. I just have to observe them and then try to pick one or two things. And then just to honor my late uncle, Reverend Emmanuel Atami, of blessed memory. I mean, for him, I lived with him for a number of years. These are people that you just look at them and then of course, my uncle, who was a chartered accountant, at some point when I moved away from business, then maybe he did not become somebody I rely much on because I was no more talking accounting. So these are people that have shaped, I mean, like from childhood, have shaped. I just look at them. They were mostly not around, but then anytime they come home, you look at their lifestyle and then you kind of get motivated that you can be somewhere. But I've always been that confident person also, that I don't really want to fear failure. I don't really, and I don't take failure as something that will bring me down. I always feel that if I don't have a job today, I should be able to do something else. So that mindset, in a way, also have kept me being strong. But as I mentioned also earlier, I've been fortunate working with supervisors who also have become like brothers and my sisters, and so they really have shaped me. So I have a number of them, they are countless, and these are the immediate ones that I can mention, but I have a lot of friends that I just learn from them. I take their positives, I leave their negatives, or let's say I take their positives, I learn lessons from their negatives and try to use it to also shape my own identity.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. So, if there's one thing I learned from this conversation with you today, is you really don't need to have everything figured out.
Exactly.
Sometimes we are struggling to, oh, I need to get this right before I move on. I need to get this right before I move on. But I noticed that you just had an open mind and you decided to explore as much as possible.
Exactly.
With the hope that at some point you would get it. And it really didn't matter to you how late or early that came. The important thing was, let me try as much as possible. And like you said, once you have faith, whatever it is that you're doing and doing it with your whole heart, things will definitely fall in place. And just before we wrap up, so I'm looking at maybe students who are now in the university who will probably be completing soon, or some people who have completed and are afraid of transitioning because of the uncertainty that it comes with. If there was some piece of advice that you would give to these people, I know the advice might be different based on the different people, but if there's some form of advice that you'll be giving to these people, what would that be?
Okay, thank you very much, Mabel. For me, young people should give themselves out to learn. They should allow themselves to be teachable. I have, for the years that I've worked with, I can say that I've mentored national service people that are maybe there are many, close to maybe 50, if not more.
No, that's a lot.
But because I always believe in national service people, I believe they are very sharp, and I do intentional selection of like people that are willing. You don't need to have first class, you don't need to have second class, upper. You just need to be that type that has the spirit to learn and allow yourself to learn. You cannot complain about being used when you are still trying to figure out your strength. Even if you are being used, you just have to make up your mind that pick what you can learn, develop yourself, and grow along that line, and forget about the negativities that come around it. So I think that young people should just allow themselves to learn or to be teachable, and they will figure out, especially once you fall within, even in the organization, even if your supervisor is not that type, there are other people in the organization that you would figure out their lifestyle and try to relate to them, and then they will help mentor you in a way. So that is one area that I think it works well. And for those national service people that have allowed that with working with me, I have noticed that they have really had very tremendous growth. And if some of them are listening to me, they can testify this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. So, in summary, just allow yourself to be teachable. Give yourself time to explore. Things will not always fall in place at the time you think, but it should not stop you from trying other things. Thank you so much, Benjamin. This has been a very lovely conversation. I would have liked to continue because there are so many questions that I want to ask. But again, it's actually been a very interesting conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mabel, for having me. It's really a great pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, looking forward to seeing you during the next episode. But until then, don't give up.